I've been coding for a while now, and I've discovered that through my journey, there are certain habits that a lot of software engineers do, including myself, that we think are good, but are actually kind of bad. And I just wanted to list 5 things that I've stopped doing, and it actually made me a better software engineer. Well, I think it made me a better software engineer. Who knows? The jury is still out. I should actually edit that out. One thing I quit is writing shorter, more complex code. When I first started learning to code, I thought the more condensed and more complex your code is, the better you are as a software engineer. And I know it still seems impressive when you're able to fit a few lines of code into 1 or 2 lines. But the problem is sometimes it does make the code harder to read and understand. So here's an example. Here's a piece of code that calculates the square roots of a list of numbers and filters out results that are greater than 2. Why we would ever need this, I don't know. But the script is all in 1 line, and that's how it looks. And I mean, look, it's fine, you can understand it, but it definitely does take you a few seconds just to realize what's going on. But if you change it to this becomes a lot more readable because you do understand it as you read it. And often the issue is that when you're working for a company as an engineer and you are writing a script, generally other eyes would see the script as part of their own process. And usually in a company, chances are you have a lot more junior software engineers than senior software engineers, and you actually need to think about designing a script that any software engineer at any level can read. Another thing I quit is actually chasing every new technology that comes out. And I know it's easy to get caught in the hype of latest tools and frameworks, but trying to learn and implement every new technology can just be a waste of time, especially in the beginning stages of your career. For instance, when I started learning Python, I quickly then jumped to R right after. And in hindsight, that was just a waste of time because Python was more popular and widely used in the industry, and Python and R are so similar in many ways. To give you an example, on Python, this is how you calculate the average from a set of numbers and just plot a simple histogram. And in R, here's the same thing. There's not much difference between the two. The same goes for other language pairs like Java and C#. Learn one because maybe your company requires it or you know it's the most popular, and know that it might be a bit more easier to learn others if the need comes. Now, when I was learning to code, I wanted to be the king of modularity. I wanted to write functions left, right, and center just because it looked cool. And while modularity and breaking down code into functions is important, and it still is important for readability and just for reusing code, it can actually complicate your code. Sometimes you can excessively split your code into maybe too many functions, and that can make the code base quite hard to navigate and understand what's happening. So, for example, over here, this is all just a bunch of mini functions, a function to square a number, a function to just apply a specific function to an element in a list, a function to sum, and then a function to process the list, when all of this can just be done in one function. Now, I do understand the need of separating functions to actually make it easier, because at the same time, you don't want one really long function. But I think in some cases, it might be worth actually condensing functions. The other thing I did when I first started coding is I was all about the code itself, thinking that writing great code was all I needed to do to become a successful software engineer, a successful coder. I do wish that project management is drilled a bit more when you're a junior and when you're learning to code. So for instance, if there was a daily stand-up where we go through what we are doing for the day, what we did yesterday, what is to come, I would go into that stand-up just saying the bare minimum, but actually taking the time to think about your deliverables. What are the challenges? What is the ETA? Are there any delays? All of that makes you a really good software engineer. And if you consistently think about it, then you will start to communicate it, and the business you work for sees that. It sees that you're looking for other factors that are important to the business, and it doesn't make you stand out. Now what I do is at every project I have a template like this. And over here is where I note my deliverables, my ETA, any delays, next steps, etc. And in stand-ups, I'll try and summarize this document. And if someone asks me about it, like a project manager or product owner, then I can pull up the document and discuss what's going on while using this document as a reference. And one, it helps you become more organized, but two, it also makes other stakeholders know that you're on top of things, which is important. If you do want this document, let me know in the comments below and I will link it. And subscribe. Oh, this is a big one. I used to think that minor changes in your code corresponds with minor effort. So if I made a change that just involved a few lines of the code, I would just run it once and get on with my day. I would think it doesn't need to go to peer review. I don't need to do any testing. This is just a minor change, and I would tell my stakeholders, my project manager, this will just take an hour because it's a small change. But boy, did I learn, every minor change does not warrant minor effort. If you're making a change, make sure that you tell your project manager or your line manager that you do need some time to do a proper check, peer review, etc. Don't be afraid to actually add buffer. So I'm going to give you an example, and this is a similar example to what happened to one of my coworkers. So we needed a function to get the previous month's date. So from today, what was the date 1 month ago? And a developer made a small change which involved subtracting the number 1 from the current month. So if we were in June, which is month 6, and I wanted the date 1 month ago, it would just be same day, same year, but it'll be June 6 minus 1, which is 5, right? And that's what they did, and this is the code. And all they did was that they took the month of today minus 1, meshed it all together to give us the last month. Now this worked fine for most of the year, but it did fail in January, where January is month 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. There's no month 0. The code failed. Now this simple change was just one line of code, and it didn't go through peer review, and it didn't get tested quite thoroughly. And it caused an issue. When did it cause an issue? It caused an issue January 1st, where everybody was on vacation, which was terrible. And I always use this example of making sure that even minor changes you do still go through the same process. So they go through peer review, they go through a full test, because this happens more than you think it does. So always make sure to still do full testing, because it is important. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Cheers.